right. Probably live in the thing. I'm going to wait for the stream to start so I can stop it on my computer. There we go. All right. So, welcome everybody to March. It's March already. I was not ready for March yet, but here we are, and barreling towards our April deadlines that we've set for ourselves to have the current release of version 12 coincide with user feedback sessions, and we've been working on refreshed kind of blog posts and outreach and awareness building. So we also have some of the threads continuing with our survey and supporting the Node.js Foundation, and the Merge Foundation with the overall survey and participating in that. So we'll touch on a few of those things today. Do we have anybody today that can speak to surveys? Michael, do you have any insight on Giuseppe's availability?
I don't offhand. Let me ping him in the background just to see if he's around, but just didn't make it for some reason. So let's see.
Got it. We might not need to. We're leaning on the foundation for help, but definitely need a owner inside of user feedback to be carrying that forward. And if Giuseppe's responsibilities have begun to point in other directions, what I'd like to do is collaborate with him and figure out a way to find an owner for that, and potentially.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily. I haven't heard anything that would make me think that that's the case. I guess it's just a matter of saying there's a next step that hasn't taken place. Is that the issue? I haven't been paying enough attention, but basically you're waiting on him for something. Is that the...
No, what it really needs is a caretaker. Someone who's going to carry it all the way through, and that's the gap. Not tell me what the next thing to do is.
Yep.
It's someone to push it.
Okay.
I personally don't have the bandwidth to do it. I'm focused on the event and supporting that. So if that kind of falls back on my plate, the thing that I'm going to do is look to recruit someone who can sort of care and feed that and coordinate that through from concept to completion, and be the partner with the Linux Foundation to leverage the resources they're providing. I don't know that we can fully lean on the Linux Foundation, or that we should.
Sure. Right? I agree.
This is our initiative, and
so it's just a matter of had you got agreement from Joe? I guess I just don't know the context. Had you got agreement from Joe that he was going to push that forward, or is it that we just need to ask if he can?
He hasn't been able to join us for a couple months now, and we have support from the Linux Foundation to coordinate with them and lean on resources from them, but we really need to be driving it on our end, and bringing the asks to them.
Right. Okay. We'll talk to him and figure out what's going on there.
Cool. Yeah. All good. No issues either way. But I definitely want to coalesce on a decision, especially since we just asked the Linux Foundation to support this effort with the surveys, and they're lining up resources for us. So if we don't have someone on our end to be carrying that forward, then that whomever is going to be taking care of that is going to get frustrated.
Yep, got it.
Awesome.
I will let Joe know the context and that he needs to sort of get back with a, hey, yeah, I'm going to be around and I'll do it, or let's figure out somebody else.
Let's figure it out. Either way is good.
Okay.
We're all volunteers here. We all have got lives and day jobs. So that's surveys. Do Tracy or Kaylin, do you have any updates that you want to touch on surveys? That's kind of the high level context of where we are on surveys from my end. Needs the owner.
I mean, surveys were really, obviously we have quite a few more people from the foundation involved on the survey part. Mm-hmm. So, we're ready to go whenever. The thing that we've really been working on is the thing I'd love to discuss today, hopefully we have time, is just kind of going over the blog post.
Yes, right. We'll get to that. Let me close this issue.
But we have, no updates on the survey, just waiting.
Right. Yeah. So, being conscientious of that, and grateful for the support, that we're getting on there, and I want to make sure that we have someone on in this group that is able to give the attention and feedback that you need to be able to move that forward. Good stuff. Okay, so next item on our agenda is issue number 122, the enterprise feedback group meeting. Ahmed, anything you want to update on that? Any support or help that you need for that?
No, I think the next step that I've been falling behind on is just creating the draft communication to the members who wanted to take part in it from the different companies that we had reached out to. I do plan on drafting that this weekend and sharing it for feedback. I'm thinking maybe I can just put the message draft itself in the issues to welcome any kind of comments or feedback on it. And the blog post, I also posted the outline today for the blog post as well. So those two will be coupled in that sense. We put out the blog post, we send out the emails for the invites for the next meeting.
Great. Well, I know my team at PayPal is primed and ready to participate there. And Will Blankenship of Netflix pinged me this week and said that he has full approval now. So he's lined up as well. So in a very enterprisey timeline, it's taken a moment, but actually, the folks are coming back in with the approval to dedicate the time into this. So I think that we played our cards well in setting the date out in the future, so we could plan to it and get everyone's attention lined up for it.
Absolutely. I've been talking to William as well, and I think having PayPal and Netflix is a good example of representation. It might encourage others as well to take part.
Yeah, and I should ping Alex Gregorian over at Walmart. I don't know that I've asked him explicitly to join this, but I'm sure that someone at Walmart would be interested as well with their very large Node.js deployment.
I assume part of the communication blog post will also be just public indication if other people we haven't reached out directly to are interested to let us know, right?
Yeah, I think I'll make a note of that. Is just directing people to how to get in touch at least.
Yeah. Yep. It's sort of like, hey, if you think you fit in this group, let us know, and here's how to get engaged. Related, I'll just mention that I did archive the enterprise advisory group as we discussed.
Oh, wonderful.
It'd been sitting open in the admin repo, and I actually did it like 5 minutes ago, so it's done.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Michael. It's been sitting on my backlog for, speaking of far too long, way far too long. But really happy with how that group is evolving and moving forward with Ahmed leading it, and so excited there. Do we want to along those lines dive into anything around the enterprise feedback blog post, or is that something that we're just continuing to work towards, and we'll check in on that later? Tracy, is that
Yeah.
I would mention quickly, there's also a issue that's assigned to me for listing the existing quote unquote members who are taking part. So I'll also take that as part of the suggestion that Michael made of how to engage, what direction to get interested members to engage with.
Great. So the next is general user feedback. We have everything lined up in May, right? The beginning of May, the May meetup in San Francisco. I still need to finalize things with open source for Portland the following week. And then do we want to dive into, well, there's a couple of things that I'd like to touch on here, and I don't know that we can wrap up the first one this week. What I'd like to do is get James Snell on, and begin to kind of brainstorm on what are the topics that we're going to go through. Go through what we want to hear from core in a current release, and brainstorm around what's going to get folks the most engaged in a feedback mindset, right? We want folks to not just be consuming the context, but really be able to draw from what we're sharing, and really turn that around into a feedback loop that we're capturing in the second part of the meetup. So to do that, I'd like to propose that for our next meeting we invite James Snell and whomever else that if we have anybody primed, kind of have James lined up, and for this first iteration, I don't know if that we have anybody else that we could or should invite or bring in, but I'm open to suggestions, so we can get a more concrete expression written down of how we're going to execute on that meetup.
Okay, so basically you think, yeah, since James is going to be part of that first one, get him involved. And I guess it sounded to me like there's been a lot of interest shown in a bunch of the other meetups. So my question would be, do we want to do something with a smaller group to kind of get our heads around it first, or do we want to invite anybody from those other meetups to kind of listen and participate in that discussion?
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy. Many folks have expressed interest in like a user feedback in a box kind of thing. Like if you have a program that's defined, I'll do it. And we're not there yet. So this iteration of just going and doing it and coalescing our feedback is I think if we have folks who are just sort of waiting for the output of this, participating, it's going to slow us down for this iteration. What we need are individuals who want to contribute creative ideas for how we can, it's creative ideas and subject matter expertise to how we can best execute on this. That's the framing that I want to do, because if folks are just looking to us for the well-defined how we do, we aren't there yet with what we've been able to build out.
So because I thought I was going to be able to sort of run with it myself. And we already have sort of the structure of a blog post already laid out. But as I was going through it, I realized that there's just so many missing pieces. Right. And that's, so I think if we spend a little bit of time today thinking about outline of just formatting of how we do it, and then the next meeting we have James, and we have James go into more of the technical detail. And then probably the next step would be whatever James does, maybe like James or you, Dan, or somebody, I don't know who, comes up with a template, and then the speakers and or meetup organizers can just use this template.
Right.
Say like, okay, I'm just going to read this PowerPoint.
I guess I would have thought that it's like our group, James has volunteered to be one of our first speakers. So I think having him involved makes a lot of sense, but it seems to me it's this group that should define the thing in a box.
Yeah.
And James's input in terms of, hey, he's the first speaker, he's going to be there, is very valuable, but I don't think we should be thinking that he's going to tell us what to do or the.
Oh yeah, no.
I agree with that.
Fill in like some level of like, I don't know, I guess you were thinking that he was going to fill in some level of technical content or something. Like, it'd be really nice just to give these people, initially actually I had started off with 2 blog posts. So one about, hey, if you're a user, if you're a speaker, what are you going to do there? And then I was creating another one for, if you are a meetup organizer, what are you going to do there? But then what I realized was it's actually exactly the same thing. So if we just create one sort of, hey, here's how you run a user feedback session, that'll be good. I'm in the process right now. I'll create an issue right now as well, but I'm going to create an open Google Slides thing so we can collaborate on slides. Because I think that'll be really important to give people the template as well.
Because maybe if we have time, we should just go through that and say, here's what we think the structure is. Then we can get James's input in terms of, does that fit with? Because I think it's kind of like he's there to give an intro. We may say that like the beginning of every one of these, it's good to give a talk on something technical related to Node. I think actually that could vary unless we think, depending on who's there, right? Or we could.
There's like some portion where it's like, here's the Node updates or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's essential. Like that is the we're attaching to a point in time, right?
Right.
And so why do we attach to the point in time? Because there's a major change coming. So we can expect the end user community to be as up to date on the day-to-day of Node as we are, since we spend a lot of our time engaged with it.
Right.
So this is our opportunity to share what's happening. And honestly, it doesn't have to be exclusively technical, right? If attached to this, we're also sharing a bit of the context of what's going on in the merge discussion. It's this great time to sort of carry out the activities of the Node.js Foundation, and let people know what's going on.
Yeah, I think that first section could always be, what's new in the Node community. And then for a specific instance, like, the one you scheduled with James, it's around, well, okay, a new release is coming out. So we might fill in for that specific, iteration, we might fill in, what's new with the Node.js community, its release time, come here about what's going on in the releases, right? Or it could be just that, if we haven't actually tied it, or, a meetup is doing one and they haven't tied it to anything specific, it's whatever the speaker that they can get or whatever they know about that they can fill in, what's new on the Node community on that front.
Yeah.
So I think that's like our, in terms of our in a box, maybe that's just our first section, which is, what's new in the community, right?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
And I guess in terms of in a box, then it might be, if an organizer wants to do one and they don't have somebody to kind of do that part, maybe we can help facilitate finding somebody who can show up and do that, right?
Right. So
I definitely think like templatizing, for example, would definitely be something like, hey, latest updates in Node, latest released updates,
But I don't think it's released necessarily even, right? It's like, unless we want to go specifically into, like, you should always start with what's the latest on the releases front and then go into other things.
I think, I don't know. And anytime, I mean, like the meetup organizers, for example, right, probably don't have, like, they'll know, but they'll know in their own way, right? And so giving them some sort of template from us to say, hey, you should just tell people in general what these latest releases are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would be, just like a one slider would be cool. Or like, deprecations, additions, et cetera, whatever that is.
Yeah, if we think that if that's always useful content, is like, okay, where are we in terms of releases? Which I could see being the case.
Yeah. And then like also probably another one is just like a get involved, right? Just a generic slide for get involved.
Yeah. And some, an update on strategic initiatives and major efforts across the project, right? Because back to Dan's point, that could include the merge. It include updates on workers. It could include all sorts of different things like that.
Yeah, Michael, you have such a good one already. I feel like.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, we could use the one that I used for your update.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just like, hey, here's a deck. If you need help speaking to it, we can help you, or
And we need to we probably need to program the content a little bit more around also like, okay, here's what we're going to do first, or like for example, the slides are going to be really good because it kind of leads people through, okay, hey, here's the latest updates, here's the strategic initiatives and updates on efforts. Okay, now here's what TSC really wants from you. What are the 3 questions we want to get out of this user feedback session?
Nice.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. That ties the feedback to a specific need in the project. So that group is already sort of waiting for that feedback. I love that.
And then like also, this is like the blog post, for example, right? In this portion of in the portion of like, well, here's what TSC wants from you. We want to screen share and have the leader, so that's the speaker or meetup organizer.
Where are you typing this into?
or
can you share your screen?
Yeah, of course I can.
Okay, that would be good.
Yeah. Let's see. Share screen. Share. Okay. All right.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So like in this, I mean, this is kind of actually helps me with the blog post too, right? Like when somebody wants to screen share, we have the leader, speaker, or meetup organizer. We were talking about adding in. So like, where do they add in issues that they're having with the release? Like one thing is we definitely said we want to do this for the release, right? Release. Yep. I guess it's not really, it's like, have you upgraded? what
Right.
um,
Are you up to date and kind of ready to move to the next version? Or if not, like,
Yep.
why?
so how do you want to record that? Like, you want to create an issue of like reasons why people haven't updated?
So
Yeah, like-
it could be a yes or no. Are you on? Are you currently running 0.10 LTS? Sorry, 0. V10 is LTS.
V10 LTS, like that.
Right. So or greater, or just that.
I mean, you could have the generic, what version are you running? 6, 8, 10, other, right?
But
Sure, but this would determine if I was trying to articulate in a yes or no question, the expression of how have you upgraded,
Right.
right?
Well, I guess the bigger question is, right? So if we're trying to show people how to get involved, we're trying to show people how to log, messages so that the TSC can see, what the general users are having issues with, right? So, so I'm going to assume that means that you just want people to create more issues. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've talked about that in the end, is that we want to help people into the regular channels, right?
And so the regular channels are?
Yeah, the basically GitHub issues. So I think in this particular context, it's like we do want to get the discussion going around, what you have there. What problems have you experienced upgrading? If they're related to modules, we can point them to the package maintenance repo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If they're related to Node itself, we can point them to the Node repo, right? Like, it's, hey, I can't upgrade because of X. And maybe we should suggest tagging with a certain tag, which we'd probably have to create in those two repos, like upgrade problem or something.
Tags, upgrade. Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? Like, for example, if initially, I think if I were running this, for example, I'd be like, okay, well, here's what the TSC wants from you. Have you upgraded? If not, why?
Right.
And then what I'd want to do as an organizer is have the URL here and be able to go into, Node.js or something like that.
Yep.
I'm probably in the wrong one. And then I'd want to be able to find an issue number to like directly click on that and be able to just go in and be like, from the blah, 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 here are the reasons why. And because we talked about wanting to show people how to do it.
Right.
So
I love it.
Screen sharing, and, I'm just going to note take here as people are telling me all these things.
And so we completely eliminate any, need to go around or go through us. We're taking folks directly to the project.
We'd need those issues to be opened in advance. That's all, which is, it might be I think we might open two issues. One, I think there's already an issue opened in package maintenance, the one we transferred around.
Right.
I have a problem with a module. We might just open a similar one, which is I'm having problem upgrading in Node 10 for reason X.
Right. So, we're tying this to the, current release. So, that could be in current, right? Just, tuning folks in as you're upgrading to version 12, here is, a good starting off point for any issues you might find in modules.
Right.
I think just based on the context of here of having pre-opened issues that people can be pointed to makes perfect sense. I would still want to refine that question to be more targeted. Like, have you upgraded? If not, why? Is not necessarily, very targeted for, because it might be talking about a person on Node 4 and haven't upgraded to 12. That's a large conversation. Perhaps it's something more along the lines like, how often do you upgrade? And what's the cycle of upgrade that your team usually goes through? Perhaps those would surface more direct insights rather than, hey, what version on and have you upgraded?
And that would be an interesting one to, so again, thinking of the issues, which I like, here's a place people can go do it. That's probably an issue in the user feedback repo that says, we want to better understand your upgrade cycle. It's not an issue in the Node repo that, somebody's going to read and fix something. So that could be an issue in the,
Exactly.
because I think you're right. Like that's kind of the interesting, if we had a better understanding of people's upgrade cycles, we can understand how that doesn't fit with what we have.
Yeah, because the last thing you want is people starting to comment on like, well, this package and this module and this version is giving me problems. That's not very...
Well, I think we want some of that though, right? Like I think in the package maintenance repo, if everybody tells us we can't upgrade to 12 because of package Y, that is interesting for that effort.
Right, but then make that question more direct of, instead of saying, have you upgraded and why not, say, are you having any particular issues with packages today that are limiting building forward? Yep. And then point that to the package maintenance, separate from the upgrade cycle question.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, so yeah, I like that. I think what you just said is we should change the first one to be, and I think we should start with what's your upgrade cycle. Like, hey, we'd like your feedback on this. We can talk a bit about it today, but please go put your comments into here because we'd like to have a better feeling. The second one could be, are you having any problems upgrading to 10 because of changes in Node itself? Here's an issue. Please comment there. We can have some discussion in the meeting. That's good. And then the next one would be, if you're having problems not in Node but in the modules, here's the other issue in the package maintenance repo.
So sorry, are you having any problems upgrading Node itself, right?
Right.
And then this one is an issue in what?
In the Node.js/Node repo.
Node repo, have organizer take 2 to 3 comments here.
That's a scary place to go post to, though.
So where is there somewhere better that you think that would go?
Help?
No, I think it's fine there as long as we direct the conversation. So I would suggest, Michael, that the question about the packages comes first, because the last thing you want is
right. Yes. Okay.
That's true. It's Node itself or the package.
Yeah. No, okay. You're right. So that one's better. Like, hey, if you have a package issue, put it here. Yeah.
If you're having, are you having any package issues?
I would say like, maybe it's more direct. Like, have you not upgraded because of issues in some of the packages you depend on?
Mm-hmm.
Package dependencies, right? And that points to an issue in the package maintenance repo.
And in terms of sequence, we ask about the upgrade cycles first, then the packages, then last Node itself. Yes. Direct the potential, flood of noise.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, that's fine.
Right, because people, the package part, it's not, we don't want any of that in the Node repo.
Do we want a general idea of what version are you running? Or do we care?
I think that's a job for a survey.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's...
So then maybe it's a call to action to an existing survey that we point to.
There you go.
It could also, like, existing survey in form of, like, do we have one?
No, though, if we go back to the beginning, we do have an initiative to start rolling out some surveys. So the timing definitely aligns, and also I think the timing will align with the foundation survey most of all. So I think we can be. We can land what we're doing as as suggestions for some additional technical content that integrates with the broader Node.js Foundation survey that we've invited the foundation team to provide to engage the community and get feedback on.
So. Okay, and then I don't think tags, right?
So,
because we're going to dump it into.
In terms, I don't think we need tags. In terms of what you got, though, as Ahmad suggested, though, this third question should be the second question.
Third question should be the second question. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Okay.
And there's just a typo there, issue and package with.
Oh, yeah.
And so fourth question is, what do you think of MJS?
What do you think of
Yeah, and the response to that should be your email address.
Yeah, that's right. Go send that to Dan.
Is this enough? Is this all we want? Like, is this the user feedback session?
I think so. Yeah, I think that covers the big. I've been trying to figure out what are the big gaps. The only other thing that I would potentially consider adding to there is if we wanted to go into anything foundation-y or merge-y, but I don't know that it fits in the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
for this particular, this is very specific to a focus on releases. I mean, I could see a similar set of questions around the merge, right? But probably a separate. It probably does make sense to have it be a separate thing, unless it kind of depends on how much we think we can fit into one session, right? Like if you could fit 2 topics, you might then say, here's the things for, and I think what you're just doing now, maybe what we need is a bunch of slides, which is like, you could do one on releases, you could do one on this, you could do one on that, and then you have the key 3 questions for each of those.
Right. And that could be, a point in time, thing that we're targeting the merger, right? Okay.
Yep.
The next iteration is merger, let's get some volunteers to go out to the meetups and, share this context. And, with that, I like that we're engaging folks to go right to GitHub. Yep. Which is where, that is the source of truth for the Node.js project. Yep. And, if we can help folks, get comfortable enough to just engage there, that's where they're going to have the most success with the project.
Yep.
So, sorry, did you say you wanted to split into 3 slides? Or did I hear that wrong?
I didn't hear anybody say that.
Okay.
No, I was thinking that we would have, for each topic, we could have a stock slide. So, right. So if we've got this deck and a meetup organizer wants to run a user feedback session for us, it's like, hey, you've got a palette to select from. You could pick the release one, and maybe those are more relevant around the 2 times of the year where releases are interesting. Another choice would be the foundation merge, which is now. There's probably some other ones getting involved. We could I guess we could get feedback on how easy people think it is to get involved and have some questions around that.
Do you know where to go? Do you know how to ask your boss?
We should definitely just tell people here, hey, here's this. Show people all the community links, right? The hardest part of getting involved in the community is figuring out where the heck all the meetings are and all the repos. So this is the calendar, right?
I think what we're getting onto is something slightly different. So we should absolutely do that as part of this. Mm-hmm. The question is there any, there's different focuses for what we want feedback on. One of the topics might be just, do you understand what we're telling you about? We have a slide at the end where we're telling you what we think you need to know. Does it make any sense to have a session on how well that's working for people? Or
I don't think we should. So what I think is, I don't think we need that maybe for the first one.
No, we're just brainstorming ideas for topics. This first one, I think releases is the one we've chosen, and it's a good.
Yeah.
But we're brainstorming
the upcoming ones.
The upcoming ones like the merge. We could, I think, package maintenance would be one where it might be interesting. I think there's.
Should I write this down anymore?
we might just like in terms of, you could put down titles, alternate titles as a backup, right? It's not, yeah. I mean, other technical issues that people like, does it make sense to have one on workers or one on other thing? We can pick any of the technical things.
I was kidding about modules, MJS, but actually modules. There's
as a separate topic, yes, right? Like,
Yes, okay.
I think we'd want somebody to be involved from the modules
right.
team in those, but I think that's.
Well, like I think we would want someone, if we really go into the package issues, we really want representatives from that group, not just speaking on their behalf, but
yes.
engaging and helping us define what their needs are rather than us presenting on their behalf.
Yeah, exactly. Like the tooling team as well. They're looking at, hey, some of these APIs, they've got views on which shortcomings are, but maybe one of these sessions could help them get broader input on that. And
this is actually a really good format because, I mean, again, for the emails I've been sending out and for the people I've been saying yes, there have been quite a few, and I feel like we could basically just get on a rolling thing, like, okay, every other month, here you go, and the meetups can just run a half-hour session on this, and so all of a sudden, all the meetups know like this is part of running a Node meetup, like. Every other month, every month, you just, you spend 20 minutes at the beginning really talking, really getting feedback.
Yep.
That's like specific for tooling, modules, and every month we rotate between the groups.
What I want is us to get some more topics like end user topics. It's like people who are using Node, what do they struggle with? These are still, a bunch of these are good, but focused on what we are thinking about day to day. It'd be good to, get more of the, I'm writing an application. What are my pain points in using Node?
Okay. What else for end user topic?
Yeah, that one I don't have a good enough, since I don't spend my day writing those. We need to find some of those people to give us some feedback. I can probably do some of that internally.
I mean, diagnostics is always a challenge at scale.
Yep.
Here, let's just ask Twitter. I'll send out that tweet later on.
Yeah, no, that's sure, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Love it.
So end user, what are they struggling with? Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Like diagnostics is a good one in terms of like, I think that group, and we obviously should, open issue, discuss it with the diagnostics group, but I'm certainly would be interested into like, hey, what are the tools you currently are aware of? What do you use regularly? What do you,
Mm-hmm.
What are people already doing? Where do they see gaps versus, we have a number of, a good number of people involved, but it'd be good to get the input from the people outside that bubble.
Yeah, this is so cool because it could totally be like June. You know what I'm saying? August.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we, every month it's like, hey, this is where we're working on, and yeah, okay, here are the questions, and if a whole bunch of people run the meetups, that's good.
Yeah.
So this is a businessy question, and I apologize for it. How can we track that back and make sure that we have visibility into what we're generating, right? Because we can just let everything proliferate and probably do good, but I think to like really make user feedback the most successful, we need a feedback loop to us to make sure, that got traction. Yeah, we tried that, and no one responded. Are we asking the wrong things? Do people just not care about that crazy harebrained idea that D-Shaw had?
But I think in this case, though, we have specific issues. So it should be, how many comments did we get on those issues?
Sure.
If the answer is 0, it didn't work. If the answer is, some bigger number, then we're actually, because that's the true feedback we're getting. There's some discussion in the meetup, which is good, but if it's not captured in the issue, we really haven't achieved getting it in, right?
Right. So, I think that we don't need to over engineer a solution, but I do think we need to plan for just some of the ingest, and if we put a little extra effort up front in sort of recognizing that there's a feedback loop that needs back, we will put in the extra work to make sure we are getting the feedback we need.
Yeah, like we should like as a group be reviewing, at very least reviewing, how much feedback, a count of the number of comments that we got on these issues we pointed to and correlation to the sessions that take place.
And then, engaging with the folks that are going and running these sessions and, getting feedback from them, what's working, what's not working.
Yeah, what's the best way to do that? Do you think that's a one-on-one or inviting them to like a group post-mortem kind of session, or what's?
We can just have them comment on the issue. Comment on it.
So I think that's a yes and, Michael. I think that if we don't direct that feedback into an issue, we will struggle with coalescing that feedback. So we should definitely encourage folks to post to an issue. But I guess the best pattern would be come post to an issue, and with that issue, we invite you to come to one of these sessions, right?
Yeah, it could be like we should have the steps, which is one of them is like create an issue saying that you're going to do this, capture the, give us information about the date, the time, so we can help promote. Once you've completed, post your comments on how it went, and then come to the next user feedback meeting so we can discuss them with you. But I think your point about having that very explicitly called out is to, like, in terms of running one, here's the steps we you should do. And then it's easy to add and remove from that set, right? Say yes, post your event. Right. So when you say post your event, that's
with user feedback.
Right. I'd say like create a GitHub issue and user feedback with session details.
Are you sure? Are you sure you want like 15 minutes in there?
Well, I didn't say
you want to just create like one issue and just be like, May user feedback session comment.
Well, I guess it comes down to how many people are going to be doing, like how many do we think will be going on concurrently?
Maybe we can leave that. I think Trey's idea around creating an issue for users feedback session can be left for the meetup organizer. As a way of giving us reports on this is how it went. Then most probably it relates the issues they encountered during the feedback session back to us during the user feedback meeting.
So we can do both, right? That there's the initiative that we're getting feedback on, where so this one is the current release of V12, and there we're talking about issues and success, whatever related to that. Then if we invite the individual who's running one to post their issue in user feedback, then we're gonna have their group be able to come back to that and share specific feedback on that instance.
I like that.
right?
It also gives us the date and time so that, like, we can make sure the Node.js org promotes it, and we can all help promote that session. So it's, yeah, I think if we open one to say, hey, here's the current topic we'd like people to do it on. I'm not sure if it needs to be like 1 month, because I don't know that we're going to be able to churn out a new one every month.
Sure.
But it might be like, currently, if you're going to run one, this is the session that we'd like to, this is our topic that's suggested. And we rotate those at some frequency. I don't know what they are, but
Right.
once we're done, and we could even have a couple at some point, like we could have like, here's 3 different choices, but have those issues. And then, having unless we think there's going to be too many to handle, which is probably a good problem, having them create an issue that they link into that master issue saying, hey, I'm planning to run one here.
I think you're looking at like somewhere between 5 to 15. So I feel like 5 to 10 and then 15. So but I mean, this is nice if you do an individual one, because then you can like look at that specific instance.
Yeah. Because they may have problems that are specific, and yeah.
Okay.
And it gives you the details, like, it's okay, we get an issue like this, we know that it's got a date and time, we should help promote it. Because we also want to potentially correlate that date back to when you see flows into those issues, right?
Yeah. So, and then we can comment. So afterwards, we will comment on that issue and ask for specific feedback.
So doubling down on Michael's comment on pace, basically. Right now, I think we can manage at a pace of halves. So, this is kind of first half of 2019, and I can foresee, after we do this session in May, us being able to really deliver, in the next half.
Really?
And yeah,
I'm so much more optimistic about this. I feel like once you have it down, you're just going to be like, okay, let's invite whatever. Let's talk to this one person. Okay, we already have the template down. Okay, let's just push it out. And just be like, do you want to do one in July? So I don't know.
I don't think Dan's saying it's more about, do we change the topic?
Right.
Like it could be that, they happen every month whenever people are ready to do them. Right. It's just starting that the topic, it's releases, and that may actually be for 3 months. Dan's saying 6 months.
Okay.
I can see we could also get to the point where maybe there's a couple of topics, right? Like we've got releases, or you want to do something on the merge, or you want to, there's 3 to choose from. But it's not that every month we'll have a new topic that we shift onto. Yeah. Both because it may take, maybe it's better to have more feedback on one than, as well as the bandwidth that we have in terms of thinking about the next topic, and even being able to consume the data, right? Like,
right. Since we're still a relatively small contingent managing this, and we all have our day-to-days to do that, I think slow is fast, and by completing and delivering on what we're laying out and empowering others to sort of take and run with that, and giving them the time to sort of build their own flows and grow. That if we start out with a slow progression of things that folks can do, then we'll build momentum with more participation. But if we start with all the things, we risk not supporting the individuals who are picking this stuff up and learning what we're sharing.
Right. So I would we start with releases. It's a good focus. Mm-hmm. And we'll learn a fair amount doing that one. We might start, we started brainstorming. We might start talking among ourselves what the next one would be and getting ready for that. But let the first one roll out. I mean, the thought that I just had as Dan was speaking was, if we get the template and the pattern ready, then it should be easy for somebody else in the Node organization to say, I want some feedback on this. plug it in, but they then are the ones who are going to be looking at the issues and looking at the feedback and stuff like that. So that's a good way to then paralyze if there's enough demand.
Right.
But I think we should just start with releases, if see how it goes, see what the success is, do a little bit of work to think about what the next one is, but not rush into saying what it's going to be or getting ready for it necessarily, or like putting into practice quite yet.
I wonder if should we just like create an issue called cadence of?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great way to capture our thoughts here.
We're out of time, by the way.
Yeah, I cadence of user feedback. I think it's like sessions. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yes.
Sorry, before we end the call, please, can we take a look at user feedback session for website redesign? They needed some feedback from the user feedback team towards finishing up on the new Node.js web page. So if you check in the chat, there's a link to the comments and a link to the issue opening the website redesign team. So just giving a look at it so we know how we can help them and finish up the processes to move forward with it.
So we're fairly blocked on our ability to effectively deliver surveys right now, Gary. And that issue's been open for a while.
Yeah,
I'm happy. Let's tag this as user feedback. Will we pick that up, Michael, if this gets a user feedback agenda tag on it?
Yes, it'll show up at the next auto-generated issue.
So let's tag this as user feedback and pull that in. If we're going to manage this as a survey, then right now I don't have someone who can sort of take that and spearhead that. But we could queue that up as something that we're getting for feedback. But I would definitely want to see some like we said with package maintenance, someone would need to really be driving that and helping design that program.
So I mean, is it asking for a survey user feedback, or like a session? What was the?
I clicked through onto website redesign 61, and it's leads to a docs survey.
Okay. I mean, I think Joe did respond to me and says it seems like mostly what he's waiting on is people to come up with the questions.
Yep. Right.
So, like Giri, if you could put together here's the survey questions we'd want, I think having that in an issue would be like, okay, we have that.
Okay, so it's more like what kind of feedback has the user feedback team get based on Node.js documentation? What are the feedbacks they've been getting over a period to now? So we can add these questions in the survey before sending them out.
It's a chicken and egg problem, and
I didn't get your question.
We've had the same challenge with promises. Like if we're asked to design and define all of the questions that another group needs, that's been a pattern where it really hasn't gotten through. What our big success in delivering a survey came from the benchmarking working group that basically delivered 99% complete questions to us, and we only sort of did the last little bit of fit up and polish. That's what we were able to really deliver a survey on. But these sorts of things where folks are raising their hands saying, I would like to do a survey. we don't have the bandwidth right now to carry that effort forward, help those folks design their questions, and then get it to a point where we can actually deliver that as a survey.
Yeah, I mean, I think the role here is to, once the questions are ready, help refine, work with the foundation so that everybody doesn't have, each group doesn't have to do that on their own. But really, yeah, like Dan says, it has to start with here's a defined set of questions which we would like to have answered. And then there can be some facilitation, right? So Gary, is it that the website team doesn't have a set of questions, or?
Oh, they do, but they wanted more questions from sessions, maybe issues around the entire Node project that has been placed on the foundation. The user feedback team, so they can generate more questions and create a survey that suits into, okay, we need to add documentations on this, we need to add documentations on this, we need to add more articles based on these feedbacks we've got from the user feedback sessions, and the survey we've also put out to the public. Yeah,
I think that would fit into, so the template we were just talking about for the user feedback session, because the answer is we haven't gotten a lot of user feedback because we've been working on how do we get in touch with the people. That slide we just put together that says on releases, here are the 3 questions we're going to answer. Here's the issues where the questions can be, we're going to try and get people to put in answers. If you could put together that slide for what the website redesign or the website team needs, that would help us look at it and say, okay, can you take that slide, fit it into the deck, and now that's something we could ask it'd be another option to say, oh, okay, and here's another timely thing. We want to ask these 3 questions. Here's where we want to get the answers in. And in the meetup, the goal is to get somebody to say, let's talk about this. Let's actually write some of the answers into the issues and make, get all the people there to say, okay, well, and continue to put your answers into those 3 issues, right? So if you have some more open-ended up questions like, what part of the docs do you think are missing sections, or, but it'd be like, take those 3 questions, think about what people could say that would be useful information. So maybe that's
awesome. Yeah, that makes more sense. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay.
All right. Well, sorry for running over. Thank you, Gary, for bringing that to our attention. Let's go ahead and shut down the stream.